everybody, welcome to Garden Time with Belle. Well, it is winter time, and in my Zone 6 Mid-Missouri garden, that means I am not doing any active gardening outside, but I can hang out with you all inside my greenhouse where it's nice and toasty. I think, yeah, it's about 62 degrees inside, while outside it's about 38 degrees. So great place for us to visit. And today's video is all about me sharing with you all the top 5 things I wish I had known as a new gardener. You can expect the next several videos this winter to really be filmed mostly inside my greenhouse or maybe in my home office. And they're going to be videos that aren't really tutorial so much, although I might be pulling in some footage clips I have of previous videos in my library. But they're really going to be more about reflecting on lessons learned, thinking about planning ahead, and what you can be doing if you live in a cold environment like I do, what you can be doing that's garden related, even in the middle of winter. So I'm going to take a look at my notes here occasionally, so I hope you'll bear with me. But today, I really wanted to share with you the top 5 things that I would say to my 20-something self as I was beginning my gardening journey a long time ago. And so if you're new to gardening, you really want to stay tuned to learn from some of my mistakes and so that you don't repeat Belle's mistakes and go into gardening either as a brand new person or just a newer person in the gardening game, as they say. I hope that you'll go away with ideas today that you can put into practice so that you'll gain confidence as a gardener and find success with your gardening, but also more important than anything, I hope you'll walk away from today's video with a way to get more joy and fun out of gardening. So before I share with you all my top 5 things that I wish I had known as a new gardener, I'm going to ask everybody to please like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Those of you that are returning, thank you so much for being here. Subscribing to my channel helps me grow my channel and helps me let you all know when I've got some new gardening content to share. Today, I plan to hit on these top 5 topics rather quickly, and in the coming weeks, I'm going to take each one of these 5 topics that I'm going to list out for you today, and I'm going to try to shoot a video on each topic individually so that we can go deeper into some of these really important basic gardening strategies. There's a lot more to be said, but I don't want to have this video be super long today. So we'll pick those 5 topics apart going forward. And over the next several weeks, you can expect me to share those with you. And we'll really look at the what's, whys, and how's related to some of these gardening basics. So let's get into it. Tip number 1. Don't try to grow all the things. I'm going to encourage you to pick just a handful of plants that you want to experiment with when you're beginning your gardening journey. So when you think about veggies and herbs, select only a few things that you know you really will enjoy eating or your family loves and focus on those things. Same thing with flowers. You know, pick just a handful of flowers to try growing, flowers that you really particularly love that might have a sentimental value, or maybe you helped your parents grow them when you were younger. So pick just a handful of things to experiment with. And the other part of that, in terms of don't try to grow all the things, is avoid fussy plants, especially when you're starting out. And I'm going to share with you right now some of my top favorite non-fussy plants that you should consider growing as a new gardener. In terms of herbs, I think you can't go wrong with basil, rosemary, and thyme. In terms of veggies, some of the easiest vegetables that I would encourage you to try is to grow salad greens from seed. Super easy. Lettuce, spinach, any kind of salad green, really easy to grow. Peppers, hot, mild, or anywhere in between, they're easy to grow. Tomatoes are pretty easy to grow, and something like green beans. So those would be my recommendations for veggies, non-fussy veggies and herbs. All right, what about non-fussy flowers? Here's my top picks for non-fussy flowers for newer gardeners to try to grow. Zinnias, marigolds, and you all, if you follow my channel, you know I am a huge fan of anything in the Proven Winners Annuals line, especially their award-winning annual flowers like their petunias, supertunias, etc. You cannot go wrong. Proven Winners breeds and develops plants that are proven to be winners in the garden. They go through many years of trials before they ever introduce them to the market. So you can feel confident and feel like a successful great gardener by trying some of the Proven Winners varieties. Number 2, soil quality should really be at the top of your list of considerations. You know, a lot of the challenges we have in our first year or two as gardeners really comes from poor soil, not from poor gardeners. So identifying what type of soil you have, whether you have heavy clay soil like we do here in mid-Missouri, or you have sandy soil. Some of you that live near the coast have sandy soil, and some of you are lucky ducks to have a beautiful loamy soil. I think about our farm up in North Iowa. That soil is perfection. It's not too thick and heavy and sticky, and it's not too sandy where everything drains away. It is just right. But most of us don't have perfect soil. So if you are planting a garden and you're planning to grow things in the ground in your native soil, you need to know whether you've got clay, loam, or sandy soil, and then learn about what you need to do to that soil to make it better. And related to quality soil, let's talk about those of you out there that want to grow your things in a raised bed. And so you need to fill those raised beds with good quality soil, or you grow lots of things in pots and containers. My basic recommendation and advice is, in terms of buying potting mix, potting soil, you get what you pay for. Honestly, I have tried all kinds of varieties and brands of potting mix and soil, and there is a huge difference. You really get what you pay for. So if it were me, I would spend more on high quality potting soils and mixes rather than the $1 bag stuff or the $2 bag stuff. Your plants need high quality soil, and that starts with even potting mix that you're going to put in your pots, especially when it comes to trying to grow edibles, to grow herbs, and to grow veggies. High quality mix is a key. So talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, watch my YouTube videos, watch other YouTubers, because they're going to recommend different brands that they found helpful. And it's kind of regional. So depending upon your area of the country, get some good advice on what are the best potting soil mixes to be using in your own garden. So one last thing that's related to soil quality is to feed your plants and knowing how to properly fertilize different kinds of plants that you might want to grow in your garden. That's a whole video in and of itself. In fact, I'm going to be publishing one of those videos just on the topic of fertilizing, and you can expect that to come out in the next month or two. So these winter months are going to be a lot of informational type videos where we can go deeper into that topic. So fertilize is important, but we'll cover that in another video. So number 3, the third thing I wish I had known as a new gardener is to understand a plant's sun requirements. And that can be confusing. I know it was for me for a long time. Plants will not thrive in your garden unless you match the plant to the proper light conditions. So before planting anything outside, you want to pay attention to the sunlight patterns of where you're wanting to put that potted plant, or where you're wanting to dig your garden, or where you're wanting to put in a raised bed. Really take some time to study the sunlight in that area and look at what does it look like in the morning, midday, and late afternoon, so that you can know how much sunlight a particular area of your garden is getting in any typical day. When you get ready to purchase some plants at your local nursery, or you're looking at seed packets, it's going to usually on the tag or on the packet tell you what the light requirements are for that particular plant. Some plant tags are great, some are not so great. What you will see on almost all plant tags are the following descriptors. It'll tell you your plant either requires full sun, part shade, or shade. That's really the main 3 categories. what does it mean, right? That can be confusing. So here is the general guideline for each one of those designations. So full sun means your plant is going to be in a location that gets 6 or more hours of sun a day. Next category, that part sun, part shade category, that's referring to a place in your garden that gets between 4 and 6 hours of direct sunlight a day. And full shade or shade plants, believe it or not, that's going to require 4 hours or less of sun a day. There are very few plants that you're going to buy or that you're going to grow from seed that truly will only do well in deep, dark shade. Very few plants, even hostas and ferns and things like that, a lot of them require a little bit of sunlight every day to do well for you. So read your tags and then understand how many hours does that really mean for that individual category. All right, number 4, the fourth thing I wish I'd really understood as a brand new gardener was watering. And even experienced gardeners struggle with this a lot. I get loads of questions about how much water should I give this? How much water? That's the wrong question to ask. It depends on so many different variables. It depends on the type of plant. It depends on how much sunlight. It depends on the quality of your soil. It depends on if you have good drainage or not. The best thing that you can use to decide how much to water your plants are your hands and fingers and your eyes. So really and truly, the old ways are some of the best ways, and that means use the finger test. Check your plants by checking the soil. Take your finger, stick it down in the soil, down to about the second knuckle or so. You want to go down an inch or two deep. And if it is dry as a bone on the very bottom, when you stick your finger in and pull it out, that plant needs water. Absolutely. So do the finger test. The hand test for me, when I talk about that, I am referring to when you have hanging baskets, which lots of us love to do. What I do is I go around my property and I take my hand and put it under the basket and raise it up a little bit. And I know how heavy that basket should be based on when it's full of water or when it is bone dry. When I lift up and it's light as a feather, I know, whoa, it is dry. Same thing with a lot of my pots. I can just do a quick little lift test on some of my pots and I can tell by the weight of the pot whether it's bone dry or it needs water. So again, use your hands, your fingers to figure that out. That's the best thing to do. Now, I know there are these new soil moisture meters. If any of you have experience with those, please leave a comment below. I don't have any experience with those. I don't really know if they work. I think most people will buy those little moisture meters where you stick the probe down in the soil. I think some of you that are great at house plants, I think indoor house plants, I think there's a really good use for them there. But anyhow, if you have experience and you think they are absolutely spot on accurate, then please share with the rest of us in the comments below about these moisture meters. But I mean, I've been gardening for 40 years and the finger test has worked really well for me. One of my other recommendations related to water is I'm going to encourage you, don't automatically water your plants every single day. Unless they're in really smallish pots or you're in the middle of a blazing hot summer. And some of our annuals in hanging baskets and things will need to be watered once or twice a day, depending upon where you live in the heat of summer, because the wind is moving them around and really drying them out. So that would be my only exception to that rule. But if you are growing things in the ground, in raised beds, in large, really large containers, you don't want to overwater. In fact, most plants die from being overwatered versus underwatered, because what happens is so much water hanging out in the soil will rot the roots of your plants, and you don't want that. That's for darn sure. The other thing that is a good benefit by not watering every day is you want to water low and slow and deeply for a long time every 2 or 3 days, because what that will do is it will force the roots of your plants to dig down deep and to grow out deeply into the soil to grab onto that moisture. That's a much better plant. It's going to produce a healthier plant and a more stable plant because the roots will go deep. So wind and hail that we get here in Missouri and things like that won't ruin your plants nearly as easily as if they have little tiny shallow roots that are just on the surface. And the fifth tip, the fifth thing I wish I had known as a brand new gardener back in the day is don't be afraid to make mistakes. You've heard me before on my channel say it, and I'll say it again, and I'll keep saying it because this is what I believe, and that is gardening is an art. It is not a science. It is not an exact science. I know so many of us have access to all kinds of resources and information at our fingertips, right on our phones, and so we want to get everything just perfect, and there's so much information out there and a lot of conflicting information, but gardening is just an experiment. Every year, every day, every season, you're going to make mistakes, and that's all right. That's how you learn. Consider mistakes in the garden as an opportunity to learn. I've been gardening for 40 years. I experience mistakes and challenges in my garden every single year, and I see them as oh, well, that didn't work. Let me try to figure out why it didn't work, and then try to correct that next time or to learn from that. But the truth is, and many of you that have gardening experience know this, the truth is sometimes your plants are just going to flat out die for no foreseeable reason, for no good explanation. There are things you're not going to be able to figure out. You're just not. And that's just nature, right? It's unpredictable sometimes, and that's all right. I mean, you have seen me in my own garden say, oh, I planted these 3 perennials, and look, these 2 are beautiful, and the third one, dead as a wedge. Dig it up, get it out of there, replant it, or maybe just leave that space open for a new or different type of plant. So sometimes there is no real strong reason why a plant just doesn't survive. And the last thing that's related to not being afraid to make mistakes in the garden is I want you to be prepared and ready for your garden to have insects come in and pests to come in. And some of those insects will cause damage, and some of those pests will cause damage to your plants. No gardening zone that I know of is free of insects and pests. It's nature, it's outside. They live in our ecosystem. So, my encouragement to you is to do some reading, to go online, to reach out to your local university extension office, whose job it is to let you know in your region of the country what kinds of insects and pests are prevalent and how you can mitigate that problem in your garden. Every single one of us as gardeners experiences those, not just once, not just twice, every single season. That's just part of nature. Well, I sure hope you all enjoyed today's video as I got to share with you the top 5 things I wish I had known as a brand new gardener, my lessons learned, the things I would be telling that 20-something-year-old young woman who was just getting interested in growing things in her own garden. Many of you have lots of great ideas too. So I want to invite everybody that watched today's video, please leave a comment below and share with us and me, what are your top lessons learned? What would be something that you would really want to share with somebody that's getting into gardening just like you and I are? What would you want them to know? What are some pitfalls that you experienced that you would want them to avoid? We want to share our great ideas together, and I would really appreciate you doing that. So until next time, I wish everybody out there a wonderful winter season. Be watching for me to be sharing with you more details on these 5 suggestions in the next coming weeks, so we can all grow and learn together in our gardening journey. So until next time, I wish everybody out there happy gardening.